Module 4, General Microbiology. Purpose. The purpose of this lesson is to refine the student's ability to develop flowcharts from data collected from literature review and testing of bacterium throughout the semester. Students are taught how to perform a number of tests on bacteria during the semester and collect that data. Students also review several literature pieces for data on 24 different bacteria to collect data. Once all data has been collected, they must create 3 flowcharts, one of each major categories of bacteria they might receive on an unknown. They will then use their created flowchart to identify whichever unknown they happen to receive. 1. Students are also expected to be able to identify an unknown bacteria by performing and demonstrating effective use of the techniques learned in lecture and laboratory classes. 2. Students will be required to perform multiple tests in the laboratory and collect data which they will use later to create identification flowcharts. From Module 11, Unknown Identification, Objective 1. Students will create an identification flowchart from the data collected throughout the semester. Objective 2. Students will effectively use their flowchart to identify their unknown bacterium. Supplies needed: flowchart exercise and blank paper, microbiology bacterial identification table completed, and 3 sheets of blank paper. Time: exercise 15 to 20 minutes, real flowchart 2 to 4 hours. Task: students, after collecting data and filling in the microbiology bacterial identification table throughout the semester, you are now expected to use this data to create 3 identification flowcharts. To help you understand what these are and how they will be used, let's discuss them first. What is a flowchart? We already had some experience with these in the last unknown, but they are basically dichotomous keys in a flowchart form, like the examples below. In our case, there will always be only 2 possible answers to each question. Let's begin with an activity to practice on before doing the real thing. Using the table below, let's make a flowchart for 7 gram-negative bacteria using the 8 tests that we have data for on the table. Step 1. Look for a test that will divide the number of bacteria approximately in half, as close as you can get. Remember, it is always best if you have definitive results, but you can split microbes where results are not well defined. Hopefully you see that the TAC test will separate the microbes 4 and 3. Step 2. Now looking at the 3 TAC positive microbes, try to find a test that will divide those approximately in half. This is where it starts to get intriguing. You may find more than one test that will satisfy the requirement. If that happens, simply pick one and move on. Step 3. Keep repeating this until you have all the branches down to a single microbe. I like to carry the names of the microbes along so I don't accidentally drop one along the way. I highly recommend you do the same. You may use 2-letter abbreviations we have been using this semester. Let me show you what I got from the left side of this flowchart. You complete the right side and bring it to me before starting the real flowchart. Remember, we talked about there being more than one way to skin a cat, and this is an example. Perhaps you might have discovered yet another way. Once you have shown me your flowchart for the right side, and I have given you permission to begin creating your 3 flowcharts, or your unknown, there are some things I want you to keep in mind. 1. If you get stuck, you can always ask for help. 2. If you can split the data, if you need to, but try to avoid it. 3. You can use student data if you need to, but again, try to avoid it. Each flowchart should be clearly labeled gram-positive rods, gram-positive cocci, or gram-negative rods, and make sure each of them are easy to read and follow. You will be using these flowcharts to help you identify your next unknown, so it is vital you develop them with a complete understanding of these tests and how to set them up and interpret them. If you have collected reliable data throughout the semester and prepared a valid flowchart, then by following that flowchart, you have a high likelihood of getting your unknown correct. I cannot overstate that a bad flowchart will mean a decreased chance of getting your unknown correct.